Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Quest Outdoor podcast. This will be the second part to our Outfitters podcast. Our intentions are to do three here. So I think we have something interesting to go through today. We're going to talk a little bit about emergency planning and what happens when you're out on your guided hunt and the unthinkable transpires. So Don and I here with you this morning. Looking forward to diving into this one with you, Don. So let's go ahead and get started here. If you could give us a little background on what happened, when it happened, and what the overall hunt was when you guys had experienced an event that could have certainly ended tragically.
Well, good morning, everybody. And I don't know. I can't explain how many hunts I've been on with outfitters and on my own. So I have a few stories of we had a couple emergency situations, and they were both with outfitters. This was a Colorado elk hunt, do-it-yourself hunt, in an area that we have hunted many times for elk and deer, mule deer. And, the emergency situation I'm getting ready to talk about was a do or die. It's like somebody had a broken arm or a broken leg. This was a heart attack issue and
Critical event.
Critical event. And so let's start from the beginning. I think we had been there a few days. It wasn't the first day. We had been hunting, and one of the gentlemen that I was hunting with, he's as strong as a bull. Don't get me wrong here. This guy is strong as a bull. And I noticed that the first or second day, he was getting kind of flush in the face, red. And it was also because we had harvested an elk, and his son had, and he had helped his son take that elk out that day. So we kind of just blew that off as a lot of energy was consumed. When you shoot an elk, for example, it's quite the job. You usually get about 6 bags of meat at 50 to 60 pounds a piece. Kind of depends upon where you're at when you're taking it out.
So you packed it out, right?
Yeah, we were packing it in and out in backpacks. So anyways, that all gets done. And then during the night, and we're in a fifth wheel camping, I heard my friend get up during the middle of the night, like 2:00 in the morning, and I could hear him in the kitchen. I went out to see what was going on, and he said, I got indigestion really bad, and I'm just going to take some Tums and go back to bed. So, didn't really pay any attention to it. Just figured that's what was going on. Went back to bed. Then about 2 hours later, I hear him up again. So I get up, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. The Tums didn't work. So, and I said to him, and just so everybody knows, I'm a retired firefighter, also fireman, first responder, so I have a little medical knowledge. And I said to him, does it feel like you have an elephant sitting on your chest? And he goes, yeah, that's exactly what I feel like. And I say, oh, well, then let's get in the truck. We're going into town to the hospital. And he, we also had another guy where there was 3 of us. And he gets up also, and he's agreeing with me, we need to get in the truck and go. And he doesn't want to go. He says, you guys just go hunting, and I'll stay here and camp and tidy up things, and I'll be okay. No, we had the stubbornness, and that's another thing. When I don't care if you're hunting, you're at the shooting range, the target range, you're scouting, whatever, and you're not feeling well, and someone else is with you, at least pay attention to what someone's trying to tell you. Don't be so stubborn because
Well, situational awareness should be something that, we're exercising at all times, right?
Yep, exactly. So we finally convinced him to get in the truck, and we're headed into town, 30 miles to town, I guess. We're headed into town, and he starts, I'm driving, and then the other gentleman's in the back seat, and he's in the passenger seat. He starts fading fast, grabbing his chest, and so I tell everybody in the truck, we're going to have to pull over and do CPR, so be ready, because I don't think we're going to make it. And we're getting ready to pull over, and he says, something, I feel okay now, somewhat. He said it doesn't hurt as bad. That don't take that as he's okay. We get to the hospital, long story short, we get to the hospital, and they rush him into the emergency room. Then the doctor comes out and says, good thing you guys got here 10 minutes more, maybe 10, 15 more minutes. I don't think he would have made it. Out that he had 92% blockage in one of his arteries to his heart. And they flew him out of the hospital where he was at to Loveland, to the heart specialist clinic there right away. So we loaded him in the helicopter, and we actually had pictures of all that back when that happened. And they ended up putting some stunts in him, and he wouldn't have made it.
Wow, that's really something. So when you go back and you're looking through that, you're thinking about the event. Did you guys, when you were planning the trip, did any of you sit down and talk about your physical attributes, like maybe getting a physical, a health checkup, or anything like that? Was that part of your initial planning for the trip?
No, we talk whenever we're going on an extended hunting trip like that, whether it's in Michigan or, everybody, usually we talk about what we're doing 6 months or whatever prior to the hunt. Like, are you working out? Do you want to work out together? Do you want to do some climbing? Do you want to do some walking? What kind of exercise? We do talk about that. I don't believe anybody ever says, admits to anything being wrong with him. And I don't think that, he knew anything was wrong with him like that. I think he knew that he had some, indigestion, and that's kind of how it starts. I think he kind of knew that and didn't, and people don't want to spoil the hunt, so they don't want to say anything about it. But if you're having some medical issues or some health issues before you ever go on one of these trips, once you get there, it's, I don't want to say it's too late, but you're gonna ruin the hunt for yourself for sure. And this is not, I have two other incidences, and one of them was me. While you're there, right? While you're there hunting, if you're horseback riding, if you're riding a dirt bike, I don't care if you're riding a quad, a side-by-side, if you're walking, try to find out from the local people. If you're going with a guide, an outfitter, they can tell you a ton. What kind of country are you hunting in? Are you hunting in mountainous? What is your altitude? Are you 7,000, 10,000 feet? Are you familiar with altitude sickness? Do you know what that's like? Ask all of those questions to them. If you're not going with an outfitter, then that's what we're here for. Quest is here to help you with, and we have lots of experiences. So you need to know all of that stuff because, listen, I was used to walking when I went on all of my elk trips and lots of my deer trips. And we started using our ATVs as time went by. And thing about an ATV is to remember is when you start out with an ATV at 7,000 feet, and you could be in Colorado, you can be in any western state, or you can be where there's some high hills, high mountains. Remember that when you progress up the mountain and you progress anywhere up there, you're going fast. You're not walking. You're slow when you're walking. that speed up that mountain is makes altitude sickness come on fast. And the thing about altitude sickness, you kind of don't know about it right away. It's something that affects you as time goes by because it's lack of oxygen, right?
Well, you also have an issue, don't you, with the ATVs and carburation? The higher you get, isn't there an adjustment or some preparation that you need to do with your ATVs prior to getting into an elevation?
I mean, you don't really have to do anything with a 4-cycle. You got a 2-cycle quad, which I don't know if there's a ton of them around anymore. And I think they make the new style. You do have to make adjustments to those, but you don't 4-cycle. No, they're fine. But back to altitude sickness. Once you get that you kind of don't know what's going on. You think you do, but people around you will notice that you could be stumbling. You could be saying things that don't make any sense. That's kind of what altitude sickness does. It's kind of like getting dizzy, right? But you're not dizzy. Your oxygen levels as a normal human being is supposed to be in the 90s, and when it gets down into 80, 85 down in there, that your lack of oxygen is now taking effect.
Oxygen deprivation.
Yep, exactly. And there's stuff you can do. There's medicine that you can take with you for that. There's stuff you can eat that will help you with that. And the best advice is when you get there to any place like that you're not, if you're a lowlander, there's lots of things people call you, and take it easy for a couple of days if you can. At least one day. Get acclimated.
Adjust. Yeah.
Get acclimated to it before you do anything crazy, because believe me, it happened to me. I didn't know I had it, and I had a quad accident. Actually broke my wrist in the accident. It's kind of a long story. We don't have to, but I didn't know I knew I had a broken wrist afterwards, but I didn't know I had oxygen deprivation and altitude sickness.
Were you guys archery hunting or were you gun hunting?
We were archery hunting.
So were you able to complete the hunt, or did you stay in camp? What'd you do?
You know what? I'm sorry, Jay. We were gun hunting, because as soon as you asked me that, I remember that I was able to keep hunting after I spent 24 hours, 36 hours in the hospital, MRI, brain scan, fixed my wrist, got my oxygen level back to where it was supposed to be. They thought I had a concussion from the quad accident. So they didn't, once they finally figured out I had a low oxygen level, then they were able to treat that. And I did go hunting. It was with a gun, so I could, I had a flexible splint on my left wrist. But, I mean, listen, when you go hunting and fishing on expeditions and you're gone for a week or two and things like that, I don't know as if we can cover everything that can happen to you. There's lots of things that you can happen. You need to have medical. You need at least have a good first aid kit, and we'll get into that in a second. You need to have tools, food, water. And weather plays a big thing in all of this. You got to take a look at the weather in advance. Know what you're getting into. Is it going to snow? Is it going to rain a lot? Or is it cold? Is it warm? You got to take a look at all of these things, and then get together with each other and determine. Look at your list that the outfitter might give you. Look at your own list of things that you have put together, and correlate with everybody that's going hunting in your group, and see that everybody's got the things that they need. Because once you get there, you can borrow stuff, but I mean, once you get there, you're going to be, a simple thing as a cigarette lighter, even though you don't smoke. It's a simple thing and here's 2 things you need to remember when you go hunting and fishing, and you're out in the sun, in the wind, right? Make sure you have a good chapstick. Your lips are going to get dry, guarantee you. And make sure you have some sort of a nasal spray to keep your nose moist. And also, you can have your own canteen if you want to call it that. But when we buy our water, we buy the hard cased bottles so that we can keep refilling them. Make sure you got plenty of water. Those 3 things, let's not forget those. I don't care how far we get into these conversations. those three things there are very important.
Hydration and taking care of yourself physically are critically important to not only a successful hunt, but a safe one.
Yep, exactly.
So I want to back up a second. When your individual in your hunting party experienced the heart attack, were you elevated at that time? Were you guys in an elevation?
Oh yeah, our camp in the area we hunt, I think we've hunted there 7 years, 7 different occasions in that same area. So we kind of know it. That's why we don't have an outfitter. We know the area pretty good. Yeah, we were at 7. Our camp's usually at 7,000, and we usually end up at 10,000 feet.
Did you guys have a sat phone with you at that time, or what was you have cell service up there?
Good question, Jay. So no matter what you do, your cell phone doesn't work everywhere in the United States. You have to find a specific spot most of the time. In that area that we hunt, you got to get it in a specific spot for your cell phone to work. So it's important to know that, to make sure. And we did not have a sat phone. We used our cell phones. But down at camp and getting out of there, the phone will kick in. But when you get up in the hunting area, you don't have a phone. If you don't have, and we use 2-way radios, by the way. You know, those seem to work within 2 or 3 miles of each other fine. Whether you're in a valley out there or you're up on top of the mountain, you can speak to one another with those. You know, you can have all that stuff. And I think that it might be beneficial to practice using some of this stuff. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just imagine, this happened, as you stated earlier, in the middle of the night inside of your accommodations. Just imagine if that would have happened and escalated while you guys were separated and out on the hunt. Then you would not only have had to find where the individual was, but you'd have to extract him and get him back to a point where you could get him out of the area.
I guarantee you, if that would have happened, if he'd have went hunting, or if he was out there when all that happened, he wouldn't have made it. I guarantee you. And that reminds me of something else. I'm glad you brought this up. I don't know if we talked about this before, but at least when you're with an outfitter, the outfitter kind of knows obviously where he's putting you, or you're with the guide, right, himself, and he's guiding you, so you're covered there. But when you're, do-it-yourself hunts, your DIY stuff, you should tell everybody else what your plan is, where you're going to be, where you're going to, if you're using a quad, where you're parking your quad, and make sure, drop some pins on
Communication with your party is absolutely critical, which brings up another good point too. Did anybody know, before you guys left, did anybody know where you were going to be? You have a local contact out there or anything like that?
Yes. We have names for certain places that we're going to park and we're going to hunt. Like we're going to be by and you know this from hunting up in the Upper Peninsula, which is all woods with hardly any roads. So if you don't know how to use in the Michigan, if you don't know how to use GPS in your compass, you're going to get screwed up there. You don't hear no cars, you don't hear any planes, So, we're going to be by the Red Stool hunting today. That's where we're going to sit, or that's where we're going to park our quad.
Yep.
Same thing out there. We do the same thing. And if a guy is new in camp and he doesn't know, we're going to show him. So when we go out west, for example, and we go in the UP or anywhere else by ourselves, we're not using a guide. We spend a couple of days either scouting or, taking the new guy where we're going to set him or put him. So it's important to know all that stuff. Even here at home, my wife, where are you going today? And so I have given her, she has in the kitchen, she has a coordinates and positioning map of where I'm at, because you can fall out of a tree stand. Nobody's going to know the difference if you're by yourself.
Yeah, if you get incapacitated out there and you're down, you're not potentially going to be able to get to a phone and call for assistance.
Right. A few years back, I had one of my employees with me hunting, and a friend of mine who's a doctor, elk hunting with an outfitter in Colorado. One of the guys that works for me slipped and fell on a rock. We were bow hunting elk. Slipped and we were way up. He slipped and I was with him. He slipped and fell on a slippery rock. It was wet and fell on his shoulder, and hurt his shoulder. I don't know exactly what he did to the shoulder at the time, but he couldn't pull his bow back anymore. So he couldn't hunt. I think there was 4 days left in the hunt, and he couldn't go. He basically could walk around and do stuff, but he couldn't pull his bow back no more. So, there you go. If he had broken something, and we had sat phones on that one, the outfitter, obviously gave us a phone to use to call them because they were, we're 11 miles up in the mountains. And if we shoot an elk, that was the arrangement, right? You shoot an elk, call them on a sat phone. They came up and picked it up. Horseback, their guides came up and picked it up, so we had a sat phone. But I'm just saying, these are all things that can happen to you. You don't think, well, I'm agile, right? I can step over logs and climb mountains, and accidents happen. Believe me.
When you had your ATV accident, that was a guided hunt, or were you guys self-guided?
It was another do-it-yourself hunt, and in an area that we knew extremely well.
What were you able to successfully maneuver the quad back out of there to get yourself out?
Yeah, this was a combination of altitude sickness, which wasn't keeping me down. People are probably thinking, well, if he had altitude sickness, how was he getting around without somebody not noticing? So we were on a switchback. When you climb the mountains out there, by the way, they're so steep sometimes, and this could be in Wisconsin. I mean, there's some deep mountainous areas all around us. Ohio's got the mountain range running through the
Appalachians.
Through the lower the southern section of Ohio. So anyways, some of them are pretty steep, right? So you're not climbing straight up. You're switchbacking it. You're going back and forth. Same thing with the trails out in Colorado. They're switchbacks. They go back and forth up the mountain. So one of the guys that was with us had a borrowed quad, and it wasn't 4-wheel drive. So some of those you can climb perfectly fine, but when you got to go over rocks and things like that, sometimes you need 4. So we were a little bit worried about him getting up this switchback, which, by the way, is one of the most toughest trails out there. I looked back for a second to see if he was okay, went off the trail, and that's what caused the whole thing. Went off the trail. Well, we're halfway up, and it rolled on me. And yes, I rode
800-pound quad rolling on you on the side of a mountain.
I rode 16 miles back to the camp with a left broken wrist. I knew it was hurting bad. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know it was broke. And that's what happened when I got back to camp. Those guys at camp thought from the accident, they thought I had a concussion. They didn't know I had altitude sickness. And I don't remember any of this. That's how bad that can get. They took me, I don't even remember the ride to the hospital. Don't remember any of that. They said I was stumbling around. I was speaking in a foreign language. So, these are all absolutely positively things that happen to us. And I guess here's a good spot to talk about this. So when you're using an outfitter, you should make 100%, please do this. Take the time to do this. Make sure that everything you have is in writing and that everything is not just verbal and you're friends with them and you've been back there 5 or 6 times and you like them and they like you. And, you speak on the phone during the summer and you talk to them all the time and you think you're one of the special friends. Remember what we said about special friends. That doesn't work because in the hunt that I was talking about where my employee fell and injured his shoulder. We ended up having to walk out of camp 11 miles on foot, carrying only what we could carry because the outfitter got mad at us because we had an arrangement with them and this wasn't the first time. We had an arrangement with them. Every time that we went hunting, they would let us stay the extra 2 days. In other words, the hunt was 5 days, 6 days. They would let us stay to the end of the season for 2 days. Somewhere along the line, things went bad. And I'm talking about we were friends with these people, right? The guy's wife, who basically run the show, was special friends with my wife. We actually took, and the guy was a taxidermist also. We actually took care of his taxidermist heads and stuff that he would send to Michigan. We kept them here at our location. So I'm just telling you, we had made arrangements during the summer with them to hunt the extra 2 days. Verbal, right? She asked us if we were okay with that. Yep, we're okay. Actually, in camp, in the lodge, before we rode the horses up to the hunting camp, 11 miles again, we had made arrangements to, if we shot an elk, to have our meat sent down and sent to the butcher on those 2 days that we were. So the arrangement was all there. Something went wrong while we were up there. We don't know. We never could get an answer from them. I'm just telling you that all of this stuff can happen. We had to walk out with with what we could carry. So anyways, right? Somebody could have got hurt on the way out.
Did you guys communicate with them and let them know that you had an individual in your party that was hurt before you started to walk out?
We didn't tell them that Junior's, my employee's shoulder was hurting. They came back up to pick us up. We were in camp with 2 guys from Texas too, by the way. That we met while we were there. They were in our camp. They came up to get us, and we weren't packed, and that's what started it. The guides came up to get us. Well, we're not going down. We were staying the extra. Well, they didn't tell us that, and then the wife came back a few hours later and told us, I don't care what you say, Don. You can call me, excuse me, you can call me a liar if you want. I didn't. You have to come down now, and if you don't come down now, then we want you to take your sat phone and call the bank and have them send $900 more to our accounts, all 3 of you, before we'll take you back down. Your choice is that, or you can walk out of here yourself, and then left.
Wow, unbelievable. Talk about, not only a letdown, but a massive safety issue. So what part of the country were you in?
We were in Colorado.
So you're in bear country.
We were in bear country, black bear country, not grizzly country.
Oh, okay.
So
did you guys were you archery hunting or gun hunting?
Archery hunting.
So when you walked out, I mean, if you'd have had an encounter with a cougar or a bear or anything like that with an injured individual, I mean, you guys would have been left to your sidearms probably, right?
Yep. I mean, it's not just bears or animals. I can tell you a lot. Slip and fall. We had to cross 2 rivers. You know what it's like to trying to cross a river in some of the western states where the cattle roam free range cattle and free range sheep, which is what a lot of them do. In case you don't know that, in case people don't know that, remember that too when you're hunting out there. The rivers are very slippery because the cattle, make deposits in the river.
Yeah,
so,
you get defecation and whatever in the river and whatnot. But
current is very strong and slippery, and it's bad. So you can have an accident there. The long story short of this whole thing was they were wrong. And what we ended up doing about it to get all of our equipment back was we had to sue them. And they had to ship everything back, pay for us. Not only that, he had a deer head of mine that he was reconditioning that he had to send back, and he sent it back damaged. I had to sue him for that. I'm telling you the truth. This is everything that happened in this whole thing. And also we didn't have our bows, right? So we couldn't bow hunt in Michigan once we got back because we didn't have a bow anymore. So I had to buy a new one so I could go bow hunt when I got back in Michigan. This is all. They
held your equipment and.
Well, they held it in camp because we couldn't carry it down, right? We can't carry our backpacks, our sleeping bag, all our supplies, our bow, everything they carried up on the mules, on the horses. We took what we needed, water, food, right, to get out of there. And if it hadn't been for extreme good memory, how did we know how to get out of there? We just.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
Gosh.
we left at 2:00 in the afternoon from camp after we made the decision to leave, and we got down at 7:00. We made all that time. Actually, it should have took us more time than that, but we trucked it. Most of us were.
Did you make it out before sunset, or did you come in just
we got
after
sunset? And when we went to the butcher, we had one elk. The doctor friend of mine had got a nice bull, and we went to the butcher's afterwards. They weren't going to give his head back to him. They were holding that hostage too. We finally finagled that out of him and went to the butcher, and he actually told us when we went to pick the meat up, you know what? They called us 3 times to change the date that you were picking up your meat. So there was something very wrong, and that outfitter has since. They're still in business, but she just runs the operation now. He's gone. The husband is gone.
he passed away?
No, they got divorced.
Oh.
And there was something going on between the two of them, and something was going on, period. So just remember, everybody out there, that be sure you get stuff in writing. Don't just take somebody's word for it. I don't care how you feel about them. I don't care, just make sure you get things in writing, because these are things that can go wrong, and they're bad things.
Well, business is business, and that's a really good point. When you're spending money, you're contracting with an outfitter. There's a number of things I think that are critical to be in any kind of contract that you sign. For example, the duration of the hunt, anything that you discuss prior should all be in writing, so there's no confusion at the end of the day. And safety and security and an evacuation plan, an emergency response plan are critical. And that brings me to the next question here. Even though you knew these guys really well, you had a long-standing relationship with them, had been out there, was there any documentation that they ever provided to you, physical documentation on emergency response plan or anything like that?
No, I mean, just using the sat phone to call when you had an elk down, and if there was an emergency, how long it took them to get up there and get you out, which they were available to do, which is very important, right? Say you're not in very good condition, and there's a lot of people. Some people that go hunting that aren't in very good condition, but that's how you arrange your hunt, right? If you're handicapped and you're in a wheelchair, there's people that take care of that, right? If you're 60, 70, 80 years old and you don't want to walk miles and you don't want to ride horses, and you make arrangements with any outfitter that that handles those situations. Don't just go and pretend that you're okay. Because you're going to be out somewhere where you might not, they might not be able to get to you in time, such as, I think might be where you were going, Jay. Can they fly you out with a helicopter?
Yeah, and that was where I was going to go next, too. I was going to follow up on that, because one of the things that we look at from the security profession, the businesses that I run, is how far are you from an evac location? If we have an event and we've got a VIP that we're out with and we have an emergency situation, what's the distance from the venue to some type of medical attention, and what's the means for getting them there? Are you calling an ambulance? Are you getting airlifted out? Are you on your own to get to a meet location? Is there a rendezvous point? Those types of things. And I think that's critical too for everybody here that's listening and that's watching. These are things that are absolutely critical that you need to plan for, that can be oversight. And not only, as you said previously, can ruin your trip, but could potentially put everyone's life in jeopardy.
Yep. I don't remember any outfitter, I shouldn't say that. There was one. I don't remember too many of them going over the emergency plan. That's a question that our viewers are going to have to ask. Make sure, write this down, that you ask them, hey, what's the emergency plan for getting me out of here if there's an accident? Very, very good question. I think there's been one outfitter, and it was the one in New Mexico. Now, a lot of the outfitters, and especially the big operations people, they have an orientation before the hunt. So they'll sit everybody down and they'll go over the rules and regulations, and they'll discuss that to you.
An emergency response
right.
plan or an evac.
Right. They'll discuss that, and then they offer. That's where you can ask questions that you haven't already asked over the telephone while you arrange the hunt and set everything up. That's a good question to try to remember. Just because you're hunting in Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, or any lower elevation site for white-tailed deer, for example, doesn't mean that there can't be an emergency.
Well, it's more than just, you trip, fall, you sprain an ankle, you hurt your shoulder, you break something, or you have another critical event. There are things I know from my own time, 20 years living in Ohio and spending the better part of 5 years ATV in the Appalachian Mountains. The copperheads are pretty predominant there. And when you're out in early fall, when the temperatures are still warm, there's possibility that you can run into them and wind up with a snake bite too. So I think it's important that all of our viewers understand emergency planning is critical. It's a critical part of not only enjoying your hunt, but returning safely, and planning that and discussing that with an outfitter in advance is critical, because if your outfitter's not thinking it, then you really got to sit down and evaluate the quality of the organization you're about to do business with, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's where your references come in. I can't speak enough about that.
Yep.
The references are, you have to figure out a way to trust them and what they're saying to you, because, remember what I said back in the last podcast. If you have 10 references, 5 of those references might be their best friends. I'm not going to sit here and pick that over. And let's try, I want everybody to understand, we're not accident prone. It's not, I don't want everybody to make us sound like, wow, those guys they've had a lot of accidents. What are they, clumsy? What are they don't pay any attention to what they're doing? Listen, accidents can happen. You get it. These hunts, whether they're on your own or whether you're spending a lot of your hard-earned money to go with an outfitter, they're very exciting. Your adrenaline gets going. I mean, it's extremely exciting. It's you're looking forward to all this fun and the build-up to it and the preparation beforehand and packing your bags. It's all so exciting that's when an accident can happen.
Well, it's not accidents happen to anybody, and the best of us. We have an individual that we know who was goose hunting locally and went to harvest a goose, and at the point when he arrived to pick up the bird, it was not deceased, and so he got his knife out to finish the harvest and wound up cutting his leg really bad. So it's not just when you're out with an outfitter, it's personal safety, and stuff happens to everybody. I mean, the best of us, the most prepared individuals can wind up with a bad situation. And there's the old adage that, if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
Correct. Or you can go with the 6 Ps. Pre-preparation prevents poor performance. So, yeah. I mean, listen, we're not doing the outfitter sessions here to pick on them. It's not that. We're trying to help the public have a successful and fun and happy trip.
Enjoyable experience.
Right. Well, that's all we're doing. As I believe you closed in the last one where you told everybody, we have a list of some recommendations and some non-recommendations. If you want to speak to us personally, we're more than willing to give that to you. We're not here to slam dunk somebody. We're here to give our truthful and personal experiences. And if you hunt as long as some of us had hunt and fished and been outdoors camping, canoeing, boating, whatever you would do outdoors, sooner or later, some little thing's going to, probably go wrong. And I'm not saying that to everybody, but we're trying to prepare you for that.
Well, I think it's inevitable that at some point we all experience some level of duress. Look, hunting is a physical sport; it really is. So, as junior hunters get started, that's something to keep in mind too. It's the warmth of your clothing as you prepare. How comfortable can you be when you're sitting out there when the temperatures are cold? As you said earlier, appropriate hydration. As you get into more guided hunts and you're dealing with outfitters, it's imperative, I think, that every individual listening, watching this podcast has a list together of what expectations clearly are, what expectations you have for your outfitter, what level of preparedness they have. You want to select an outfitter at all times that understands and has thought through the critical nature of what it is you're doing. What are the threats that you face? What are the possibilities? If you're working with an outfitter that hasn't effectively evaluated critical situations that could arise for you, you got to ask yourself, how prepared are they, and what level of success are you going to have in the hunt in and of itself?
Yep. I mean, so we don't have Daryl on again today. We weren't going to have Daryl on and Daryl's going to be working with us. By the way, everybody, in the future, he's going to be filming some of his hunts, working with us, and fishing and whatnot. So, but Daryl had some. He had some. Probably, if he was here, he had some stories he could tell from hunting in Canada, in Illinois. I don't know if I can speak for Daryl, but we said that before. That's why he hunts on his own so much now. He had a couple bad experiences with, and you can tell when an outfitter is serious. Believe me, I know there's a lot of people out there going, well, I've never done that before. I've only been hunting a couple times, and this and that, and I don't know what you mean by you can tell. I mean, you can tell when somebody is really serious. And an example of that, there's an outfitter in Canada that we have used, that this guy is serious. I mean, he's serious to the point where you might take some of it the wrong way. I mean, he's so critical about his clients being successful that, for example, if you have zippers on your coats and your pants and wherever you got a zipper, he makes you tape those zippers up with duct tape before you go hunting. And there's more than that. There's a lot more than that. I'm just trying to give you an example of how you can tell when these outfitters are serious and when it's meaningful. And you can go back to the stuff we stated in our last session, in the session before, about things to look for and ask. And you can figure that out yourself. And again, you can talk to us, PM us, and things like that, and we'll help you some more with that.
Yeah, so a couple things here. We've gone through a lot of lessons learned here.
Yep.
But I think it's really critical for everyone to understand a couple of things again, just to go over it because of the importance of it. Physical health is critical for outdoor activities. Whether you're dealing with the weather, the terrain, the elevation, and planning for the unexpected is critical for safety, for everybody in the party, because you can, if you're not in good shape, or you're up there on the mountainside, you're at 7,000 or 10,000 foot elevation, you wind up getting hurt. You could potentially ruin the hunt for everybody else. So your physical attributes are critical before you engage. And I think that's an important thing to remember too. When you're sitting around looking at the hunting party that you're taking out, everybody's got to take that physical aspect seriously. If you got somebody in your party that's really not putting the effort in, or they're very poorly health, and you got to ask yourself, is this a situation where I want to embark on with the individual, right?
Yep, absolutely. There are some of the things that I can remember that I don't have any notes or anything this morning about that, but an outfitter a good serious outfitter will ask enough of the questions in the forms that you fill out, the paperwork that you fill out. They'll ask you, what medications do you take? Are you taking any medications that we have to be aware of? And do you need a special diet? Can you eat this? Can you eat that? They'll ask you all of these types of questions, and I'm sure that our viewers know this. If this is really what they're, this topic is really what they're interested in, because they're going to hire an outfitter, they probably are aware of a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. And if they're not, then they will be now. The outfitter, those are all parts of how serious are they? Are they new to the game? Are they've had stuff happen to them too, so they know what to be prepared for.
Yeah, absolutely critical. Well, let's get a few final thoughts here, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay.
So as you look back on, the few hunts that we've talked about and the emergency situations that have transpired, you think in terms of some of our viewers getting out and getting involved in hiring outfitters and getting into elevations, whether it's in country or out of country, what are a couple of words of wisdom that you could pass along?
When you're looking for an outfitter, these are about 2 or 3 points that I would be, if I was, one of our viewers. One, usually, I say usually, if the outfitter's been in business for 20, 25 years or somewhere around there, usually, they've been in business that long because they're successful and people like them, and they get plenty of return customers. And then their references, right? The references are hugely important, because then you can find out what kind of facility, what kind of food, what kind of atmosphere are we looking for. And then 3, what are you trying to hunt? Are you trying to hunt trophy whitetail deer, or you just want to get a deer? Are you hunting elk? Are you hunting sheep? Are you hunting antelope? Are you bird hunting? What are you hunting? And then look at that field, that category, and find the outfitter that fits our suggestions. Do we have outfitters in many of those categories? Yes. We have some that we really like. And also fishing, same thing. Once we get rolling on some fishing stuff, we have charter boat captains, and we have areas, and we have a lot of advice for that also. So yeah, you want to look at success rate, honesty. Honesty is a big one. Honesty is the best policy, right? So, and that's what we're all about.
So it's due diligence too on the part of the hunter who's going to engage. You got to do your diligence. You got to do your background check. You got to make sure that you get some references. You got to look at what's out there. A lot of times it's similar to buying something online, right? You want to see how many people have comments. What are people posting about the outfit that you're getting ready to work with? What level of safety and pre-planning, emergency planning has the outfitter provided for you? The level of success of hunts that have transpired previously. There's a lot on the due diligence side of it that's critically important.
Yep. So I visited a couple of outfitters before I went there. I went and checked them out, checked their facility, their area out, and that didn't necessarily solve all the issues. Food, the facility I could see, the food I didn't get to see. So you want to be comfortable when you go on these hunts, and be taken care of like a special person, if that's really important to you. We have some recommendations for those style of people. If you're more interested in the success rate and you're hunting for a trophy, we have some people that we recommend there too. So, what kind of hunter are you? There's
important questions to ask before you get started.
Right. We don't like I said, what kind of hunter are you? Do you have a good hunting spot where you're at? And here's another, if you're close to this outfitter, like if live in Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Minnesota, start naming off Pennsylvania, I don't care, New York, whatever. If you're hunting white-tailed deer and you live in that state, go visit them. That'll probably solve most of your problems. And when people don't want to answer questions, I don't care if it's hunting, fishing, work, real life situation, there's probably something wrong. I mean, it's
you start evaluating the honesty of who you're dealing with, right?
Right. I mean, when you see a bunch of clowns and some balloons, there's probably a parade coming behind it. So
yeah, don't let it be your circus.
Yeah, right. I mean, and you can always get a hold of us and ask us if we're missing something. We did. I think we told you before, right? If you have a question, there's a way to get a hold of us. Everybody knows it. We're willing to answer anything that we know, or we can research, or we can find out about.
1,000%. Drop a line in the comments, and reach out to us. We're happy to reach back to you and get contact information to you. Yeah, we're not. We're here for your experience, right? So,
Yep.
All right, let's wrap it up here. So, we covered a lot today. A lot of good stories. Some critical events that were in there. So great education for everybody today. And from Don and Jay here, it's critically important that you evaluate all aspects of the hunt that you're about to embark on. You evaluate your health, your safety, how you get home safely, what you're doing with your game when you harvest it. It all starts well before the hunt begins. So the pre-planning, absolutely critical. And we're here to provide more information for anybody who wants to ask at any time. As we say, Quest Outdoors, your adventure starts here, people. So again, keep it real. Thanks for watching. One more thing, Don, final thought there.
Hey, so I just want to let everybody know we're going to try to keep you posted on what's upcoming, so you can be prepared to watch some more podcasts. We've got some ice fishing videos coming up. We got a couple interviews coming up with some charter boat and some outfitter guides that we know that are in the schedule coming up. And so everybody can look forward to that. We'll probably polish this sessions up with an interview with a booking agent, outfitter we know, give them a chance to speak. So I just want to let everybody know that that's all coming up.
Yeah. So we have one more part to this before we move on to some other stuff. And like Donnie said, we got some great fishing stuff coming up too. So keep it real, ladies and gentlemen. Your adventure starts here. Quest Outdoors, Don and Jay. See you soon.